what I had to do is really you have to really think through ultimately where do you want to go? What's your dream? Yeah, that's the biggest thing I've noticed over the years is that people lose their dream. They don't have a reason why they're doing anything. And if you don't have a dream, if you don't have something that you're shooting for, a goal, then it's going to be very difficult to pull yourself back up. And, there's a lot of people right now going through challenging times. But you got to know why you're here and where you're going. And then the next thing you would have to do is you got to make a decision. You got to make a decision that no matter how good things are, how bad things are, how challenging things are, that you are going to be different, that you're going to change, and that you have the ability to do it. Because every one of you listen to this message, you all have the ability to be different. But it's going to take you. It's not going to be because of your circumstances. No one's going to hand you anything. No one's going to give you something that you haven't earned. If it's going to change, it's going to be because of you. If things are going to be different in your life, it's because you made a difference and you've made a decision to be different. And that's one thing that someone taught me years and years ago is that, the most wealthy person on this planet or the most successful person I could see on this planet and myself, there's only two things different between them and I. Is time and the size of their dream. That's the only difference between you and someone who is succeeding at what you want to accomplish, is the size of their dream and time. It's the only difference. See, I hope after this call or after this, little message I'm leaving you here, that there'll only be one thing different, which is time. I hope that you take this information and you start developing a huge dream, and I hope you decide to have a big reason why you're on this earth and why you want to accomplish what you want to accomplish, because then you can start putting in the actions so that it'll start shortening that time span. And that's what I like to say.
That's great, and thank you for saying that. I mean, you've been such a great mentor and a great influence for me, and I'm glad that you've been able to share your words of wisdom with our listeners, and I think it's pretty clear they can see why I even had you on this phone call. So thank you very, very much for your time. If in the future, would you mind if we asked you back and you could bring us up to date with how Maxi View Mirrors is going?
Absolutely, no problem. Sure, you can call me anytime.
Perfect. All right. Well, I'll let you go. I know you got a busy day, and I will talk to you soon, and we'll invite you back soon as well.
Okay, Matt. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
You bet. Take care, Stephen.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Great call. I mean, I hope you're listening to that. There's a lot of really good nuggets in there, especially right there at the end. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I remember hearing a quote from General Colin Powell, and he had said something to the effect that indecision has cost the American government, American business, and the American people billions of dollars more than the wrong decision. In other words, not making a decision can be more costly than actually making one, even if it's the wrong one. Now, that quote, it's stuck with me ever since, and I've referenced it at least 100 times in conversation since. And what I've come to know is indecision is broadly recognized as a success killer, yet almost completely ignored as a distinction in the world of personal development. We heard right there at the end from Stephen how important it is to make a decision. To make a decision when it's time for you to start over, when it's time for you to do over. And I want to expound on that, but in a different way. Let's talk about indecision. Okay, let's talk about indecision. By the way, indecision is also a decision, but let's talk about it specifically. You see, there are two types of decisions. Okay, type 1 is a yes or no decision. What will happen if you say yes? What will happen if you say no? Type 2 is a right or left decision. When you find yourself at the proverbial fork in the road, you can become paralyzed. What, do I turn left or do I turn right? The Price is Right. Do you want what's behind door number 1 or door number 2? These two types of decisions have one thing in common. They can stop us dead in our tracks. Indecision is toxic. It's absolutely murder to your progress. Okay, it'll destroy your success. It can cost you your entire do-over. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do, obviously, is make the right decision. The next best thing is the wrong decision. And the worst thing you can do is absolutely nothing. Be really careful of the words. I'm going to warn you of these words when they come out of your mouth, and I want you to be conscious of this. I mean, awareness is everything. But be really careful of the words, let me think about it. I mean, those words are typically the precursor for indecision. And sure, I want you to think about your decisions. Go ahead and think, but then decide. Decide swiftly, and here's why. Decision, it causes movement. Nothing happens. I mean, nothing happens without a decision. Nothing will move without a decision. And the danger with nothing happening is you are unknowingly moving backwards. You're not just standing still while waiting to make the right decision. You are moving backwards because life, it continues to move forward. So if you find yourself paralyzed by indecision, life is going to pass you by. You need to believe that. I mean, life is short. No, strike that. Life is fast. And the older you get, the faster it seemingly gets. So you need to make decisions, because if you don't, life is going to pass you by. You know, whenever you see a successful person or a successful business or organization or just a successful event, someone at some point made a very courageous decision. They made decisions. So in your do-over, you're going to want to develop a reputation for making decisions and making quick decisions. You know, a while back, a really good friend of mine, he gave me a call on the phone one day, and he's raving about this little town in Alabama where we could pick up these small little houses for $3,500. Yeah, I said that right, $3,500. I mean, I'm from Southern California. That sounds like a joke. I mean, that's my mortgage payment. But we could pick up a whole house for $3,500. And my friend, he went on and on about how he was witnessing with his own eyes the transformation of this little town, and one specific street in particular. I mean, he was, Matt, I already bought one house and I'm going to buy another really soon. You should at least pick up one for yourself. I'm telling you, this town is going to explode. So I got off the phone with him. I was really excited because he wouldn't have called me and told me such a thing if it weren't true. But, you know, I kind of got depressed for a minute after I settled down. I started to rationalize because I'd realized that I'd only had $5,000 to my name and I know rent was due. So I shared my situation with some friends and I told them all about it. And to my surprise, a couple of my friends, they offered to just give me the money. They offered to loan me the money to do it. I mean, my first shock was I didn't know the people that I was hanging around at that time actually had $5,000 to loan me or $3,500 to loan me. You know, after they made that offer, my first response was of excitement and delight. But then I did follow it up with a let me think about it. Didn't want to let my friends down. They'd made a gracious offer, and I wanted to make sure I did the right thing. So to make a long story short, I never did take my friends up on that offer. I mean, they were so generous and gracious, but I never took them up on it. Then 6 months later, property values in that area, they'd soared to $30,000 in 6 months. It's like 1,000% return almost. I mean, a couple years later, there was up to $75,000, and even as the nation's real estate values took this significant hit in 2008, I mean, that little street was virtually unaffected, as the value of that real estate today, I think, is sitting right around $100,000 the last time he told me. That was about a year ago when he told me about it. You know, by not making that decision to accept the gesture of $3,500 offered by my friends, I mean, I lost a minimum of $70,000. And I lost the opportunity to give back a sizable return to my friends who made the offer in the first place. You know, had I accepted their offers, made the investment, and the opportunity failed, like it didn't pan out, or say the street just took a nosedive, I'd have only lost a mere $3,500. In hindsight, I mean, it would have only taken me a few months to recover and pay back my friends. And that's where the lessons of indecision can be really painful. And as I describe it and as I talk about it, it's really a small decision, but it's the smallest decisions that can change your life. I mean, the subsequent 3 years, they turned out to be the worst for me financially than anything I'd experienced 15 years previous. Had I made a decision to join my friend in pursuing investments in that neighborhood, if I had taken my friends up on their generous offer to give me that $3,500, I mean, the impact on my life that I could have experienced with an extra $50,000, $100,000, or $200,000 during those years that I was suffering, I mean, that could have opened up so many other opportunities, let alone spared me a bunch of heartache and regret and worry. I mean, Napoleon Hill said it. The rich make up their minds quickly and they change them slowly, while the poor make up their minds slowly and change them quickly. You know, each time just consider this, each time you put off making a decision, you rob yourself of time and a clear mind, resulting in lost days and performance. Nothing happens with indecision. And to compound the problem, more days are lost lamenting over the lost days. But the true cost of indecision, it's not limited to just wasted time and lost opportunity and lost money. Indecision, it exacerbates worry and makes it worse. It breeds heartache and sadness. Indecision can be debilitating. I mean, it can take on a life of its own and it can creep into your character. It can be contagious. It can infect those around you. It can chip away at your self-confidence and the confidence others have in you. It will not only stifle your progress, it's going to stifle that of the people around you as well. So here it is. Whether you think you can or cannot do, I know what you think I'm going to say. You're right? No, that's not what I'm going to say. Whether you think you can or cannot do, just begin. Just do it, if you will. I mean, just do the best you know how at the moment of decision. And what you're going to come to realize more times than not, just like I did, it's not always what we know or have analyzed prior to making a decision that makes it a good one. It's not what we do before we make the decision that makes it good. It's what we do after the decision that makes it a good one. More times than not, that's the case. So whether you think you can or cannot do, just begin. So here's your homework. Make decisions and make them quickly. And then here's the second part. Stick with the decision and then act on the decision. Follow through. Don't change your mind unless you absolutely have to. Very simple homework today. Make decisions, make them quickly. Stick with the decision and then act. And don't change your mind. So that's it for this episode. If you didn't hear the last episode, episode 4, I think you're going to want to go back and check that out. If you don't, your do-over could be a very disappointing one as we discuss the biggest barrier, and it's an invisible barrier, the biggest barrier to your do-over, one that'll completely derail your success if you ignore it, and I don't want that to happen to you. And here's the other thing is nobody even knows it's there. I mean, it's invisible. That's why we call it an invisible barrier, and it'll destroy you. So go back and listen to episode 4 if you missed it. So coming up next episode, we're going to go over the 10 stupid mistakes the newly self-employed make. So if your do-over consists of becoming self-employed, entrepreneurship, or even just starting a business, you're not going to want to miss that one. Here's your chance to take my hindsight and turn it into your foresight, so you don't make the same mistakes that I did. Lastly, go to freedoover.com and download your copy of the 3 Pillars of the Ultimate Do-Over. It's free. It's my gift to you. Don't waste this gift. And if it's not the best free thing you received all year, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll do something. At the very least, let me know and let me know why. And if you like what you heard today and or if there's something that you'd like to hear more of, please visit iTunes at your convenience and leave your comments and suggestions. Much appreciated. I am Matt, the Do-Over Guy, and I will see you next time on Your Do-Over.
Thank you for tuning in to Your Do-Over, where the ignored, underestimated, and unknown steps to producing results and making life work are revealed. And remember, knowledge is potential power. Take action on what you learned today. This is not your learn-over. It's your do-over. To view the resources referenced in today's show and to retrieve a complete show transcript, visit www.thedooverguy.com. Stay connected with Matt the Do-Over Guy Terrio on Twitter at The Do-Over Guy and on Facebook at www.facebook.com/dooverguru.